Pam Bondi may have tried to deflect and spin her way through Rosa DeLauro's questioning, but this fiery clash revealed something much deeper about Republican priorities. When push came to shove, Bondi couldn't answer the most basic question: how many ATF agents will be lost under these cuts?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick note before I get to my questions. Fentanyl seizures are down 30% compared to last year, and that data is coming from the Customs and Border Patrol, CBP. I don't make it up, but fentanyl seizures are down. At your confirmation hearing, you asserted that you will do everything in your power to prevent illegal gun runners in our country. Your budget request for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF, proposes a cut of 26% below the current level. How can you justify such a massive cut without inevitably weakening ATF's ability to help our state and local law enforcement fight illegal gun trafficking? How many ATF law enforcement officers and industry operations investigators do you anticipate will be lost to attrition as a result of this funding reduction you are proposing?
So, I am a career prosecutor, and I believe in keeping America safe, making America safe. First, what we're doing is ATF is going to be brought over with DEA. Everyone knows, everyone sitting up here, guns and drugs go together. They go together. We're going to make it more efficient. What I will tell you will not be happening is ATF agents will not be knocking on the doors of legal gun owners in the middle of the night asking them about their guns. They're going to be out on the streets. If I can finish, they're going to be out on the streets.
I have three
No,
minutes.
you asked me a question.
I did, and
you asked me a question.
And you
and I'm
haven't
gonna
answered
answer
my
it.
question.
So they're going to be out on the streets working
You haven't
hand in
answered
hand
my
with
question.
DEA
You
to
haven't
violate.
answered. Mr. Chairman, I'd like an answer to my question. And the question is not being answered. How many ATF law enforcement officers and industry operations investigators do you anticipate will be lost to attrition as a result of the funding reduction you are proposing? You are proposing a 26% cut to ATF for fiscal year 2026, as well as a 4.4% cut to DEA. So you're going to merge the two agencies together, and then you're going to shortchange their resources, so neither one of them will be able to do the job that they have been designed to do. You've got a 34% cut to the high-intensity drug trafficking areas program, no dedicated money at all for the Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Force. So, my view, it's fair to say that the Trump administration proposal shortchanges federal efforts to stop illegal gun trafficking and federal efforts to stop the flow of dangerous illegal drugs like fentanyl.
As I was attempting to answer your question very calmly, unlike you,
Excuse me, Madam Attorney General. Answer yes or no. Tell me what the numbers are. I don't want to hear all of your filibuster about this. Go ahead. Please, tell us the numbers.
So we are reorganizing. ATF agents want to be out on the street.
Okay,
working
let me answer the
DEA
question for you.
agents.
I'm going to answer it for you. Page, Mr. Chairman, you give me a certain amount of time, and I have a high respect for you, but I don't have to listen, nor do my colleagues have to listen to a filibuster when it's a simple question. But I have an answer to your question. It's page 146 of the department's fiscal year 2026 budget, and the performance summary explicitly says, and let me quote, ATF will eliminate 541 industry operation investigators, reducing ATF's capacity to regulate the firearms and explosive industries by approximately 40% in fiscal year 2026. ATF will perform fewer regulatory inspections. And the department summary goes on to say, and let me quote, ATF anticipates a reduction of approximately 284 support personnel and 186 agents based on historical attrition patterns, and these personnel cuts will impact ATF across various functions, unquote. If the capacity to regulate firearms industry is reduced by 40%, if you are losing 186 ATF law enforcement agents on top of that, it is clear the direction you are headed with this budget And that's what it is, isn't it? The proposal will weaken our ability to stop gun trafficking, and it will greatly reduce ATF support for state and local law enforcement that helps them prevent and solve violent crimes. It's a bad proposal.
Do you want to hear my answer in 3 seconds? You mentioned regulatory functions. We will not be having ATF agents go to the doors of gun owners in the middle of the night asking them about their guns, period. They will be out on the streets with DEA, guns and drugs.
How many
go
are
together.
gone?
It will be attrition. We are not firing agents. They will be working
How many
with
have taken
DEA.
attrition?
Can I tell you that they all want to be on the streets? They want to be doing their jobs. They want to be
But you're getting them
seizing
off
guns.
the streets.
They want
You're getting
to.
them
We're
off the
putting
streets.
them on the
And-
streets.
and-
They want to be working with
you,
DEA.
you are getting them off the
will be
streets. There is no
efficient.
clear. And Mr.
We will
Chairman,
be
I yield back my
efficient.
time. I yield back my time. Let's get some answers here.
Pam Bondi didn't just dodge Rosa DeLauro's questions. She tried to redefine the terms of accountability. Viewers need to understand why that matters. DeLauro kept asking for the same basic thing, numbers. How many ATF agents? How many investigators? How much capacity is being cut? Because in law enforcement policy, numbers aren't abstract. They are case files closed or left open, storefronts inspected or ignored, illegal guns intercepted or allowed to slip through. When a budget proposes eliminating hundreds of investigators and reducing ATF's ability to regulate the firearms industry by nearly half, that's not belt tightening, that's policy by subtraction. And subtraction has a body count. Let's demystify what ATF actually does. ATF agents don't wander around neighborhoods waking up law-abiding gun owners in the middle of the night to ask about their guns. That line was a distraction, and an effective one if you don't know the system. ATF has two main operational lanes: criminal enforcement and industry regulation. The enforcement side pursues gun traffickers, straw purchasers, and violent felons using firearms. The regulatory side, the industry operations investigators you heard DeLauro cite, inspect licensed dealers, audit records, and look for patterns that signal diversion, the moment a legal supply turns illegal. Those inspections aren't theater. They are how the government spots a dealer who, say, keeps losing inventory, or a pattern of bulk buys in one state feeding shootings in another. When those inspections fall, diversion rises. You don't have to guess. It's how systems behave. If you stop checking, people stop complying. This is where the numbers DeLauro read matter. Losing hundreds of investigators means fewer on-site inspections of licensed dealers, fewer audits of weapons inventories, fewer opportunities to catch the red flags of trafficking. It also means fewer traces completed quickly when a gun is recovered after a shooting. In practical terms, that delays arrests. It can also blow up local prosecutions, because without the paper trail, the case weakens. And when the budget anticipates the loss of agents through attrition is not neutral. When vacancies go unfilled, it's an intentional downshift. It's the slow bleed that turns temporary shortage into new normal. Now, let's talk about the proposed solution, folding ATF into DEA. On paper, guns and drugs go together sounds efficient. In reality, merging agencies mid-crisis is like rewiring a plane while it's in the air. These agencies have different statutory missions, investigative authorities, databases, training pipelines, union agreements, evidence handling protocols, and relationships with U.S. attorneys' offices and local partners. Integration is not a switch you flip. It's years of retooling, turf fights, case management conflicts, and mission drift. During that window, productivity drops. Ask anyone who has lived through a federal MEORG. The cases don't wait for your org chart to settle. Traffickers certainly won't. Now layer in the other cuts DeLauro flagged, reductions to HIDTA and no dedicated money for OCDEF. Those aren't acronyms. They are the connective tissue that makes big cases possible. HIDTA, High-Intensity Drug Trafficking Areas, funds the task forces that stitch together local cops, state investigators, and federal agents in places where trafficking routes are hottest. OCDETF, Organized Crime Drug Enforcement Task Forces, bankrolls the long, expensive investigations that follow the money, flip the couriers, wire the phones, and ultimately dismantle networks. When you strip those resources, you don't just slow down a raid, you shrink the ambition of the cases themselves. You stop aiming for the supply chain and settle for the street corner. That looks busy in a press release, but it doesn't change the risk on the ground. There's also the fentanyl talking point. Bondi opened with a line about seizures being down 30% and framed it as good news. Here's what viewers should know. Seizure counts are not a clean scoreboard. A drop might mean less flow, or it might mean traffickers adapted their routes or methods, or it might mean fewer people and tools were available to seize anything. Without context, interdiction staffing, inspection rates, tip volume, lab capacity, down 30% is a Rorschach test, not a metric of safety. Policy should not be built on vibes. And the regulatory versus enforcement dodge matters. Bondi tried to equate eliminating regulatory capacity with freeing agents to get out on the street, but that confuses two different, complementary missions. The regulatory side is how you prevent the leak. The enforcement side is how you mop up after the leak. Cut prevention, and you guarantee more mop-ups, which are costlier, riskier, and less effective at scale. Think about it like public health. Inspections are vaccination. Arrests are the ICU. No serious person argues we should slash vaccines to focus on hospitals, yet that's the logic being sold. If you want a tangible picture, imagine a city where a small number of dealers keep popping up in traces after shootings. ATF investigators visit, review records, match serial numbers to sales, and spot the pattern. The same buyer, multiple handguns, short time to crime, maybe multiple states involved. That's the signal for a trafficking case. Lose the investigators, and that pattern stays hidden. Meanwhile, local police recover more guns at crime scenes, but the upstream pipeline hums along. Communities feel the result as a steady drumbeat of shootings without the upstream pressure that would dry out the market. There's also the human factor inside agencies. When leadership signals that core missions are being downsized, through attrition, through program defunding, through merger talk, experienced agents retire early, mid-career talent leaves for stability, and new recruits stay away. Institutional memory drains. The exact people you need to train the next cohort aren't there. That's not hypothetical. It's how any workforce reacts to uncertainty. This is why DeLauro's persistence matters. She wasn't angling for a viral moment, she was documenting the trade-offs. If you reduce ATF's regulatory capacity by 40%, cut agents through attrition, shrink HIDTF, and starve OCDETF, you are making a choice. Not about slogans, but about outcomes. More illegal guns making it into circulation, fewer complex trafficking cases, and less support to local departments that rely on federal partners for the heavy lifts. You can't campaign on law and order while gutting the infrastructure of law and order. That's the contradiction the exchange exposed. And it's worth saying out loud. Pretending that efficiency will make up for hundreds of lost people is magical thinking. Efficiency gains are real when you modernize tools, replace duplicative processes, or cut backlogs, not when you remove the humans who do the work. The work here involves interviews, audits, surveillance, deconfliction, subpoenas, and court testimony. That is human time. You don't compute your way around it. Here's the broader civic lesson. Budgets are moral documents. They tell you what leaders value when no one is chanting. If the plan is to shrink the people and programs that keep illegal guns and deadly drugs out of our neighborhoods while selling it as streamlining, the public should see through it. We owe families more honesty than that. If you found this breakdown useful, stay with us. Share this video with someone who only saw the fireworks but not the stakes. Drop a comment with your city and whether your local department has the federal support it needs, ATF traces, OCDETF partnerships, because those stories matter. And if you're tired of politicians talking tough while cutting muscle, call your representatives. Tell them to fund the people who actually make communities safer. Subscribe for more clear, evidence-based commentary from a liberal lens, and make sure you're registered and ready to vote in the next budget fight, because safety isn't a slogan, it's a choice.